Hi, this is Mark Waid, writer of Superman Birthright, and you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's
The Krypton Report.
I am your host, Tyler, and welcome to Krypton Report, a podcast dedicated to all things Superman, Supergirl. We're going to look at the Supergirl TV series, as well as the Krypton TV series, anything that has to do with the characters in their world. Comics, movies, TV shows. We will talk about everything and anything. We are part of the Southgate Media Group podcasting network. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at Krypton Report. You can also email us at kryptonreportpod@gmail.com. If you get a chance to go over to iTunes, Apple Podcast, please leave us a review to help us get better. You can find me personal at JTY Patrick on Twitter and everything else. It is I, Tyler, and today I have a special guest. You're like, who is that guest? Is it Phil? No, it's not Phil. It's a new man that I met through the podcast, Mr. James Cole. How are you doing today, James?
Oh, I'm good. I'm very good. I'm excited to be here. You know, talking to you about Superman. This is really fun. This is my first podcast.
James and I have just been chit-chatting on Facebook and talking podcasts, and he reminds me of me a couple years ago, learning Skype, just wanting to get into talking with people who have similar interests and obsessions. I mean, you could call it an obsession. I sure do.
Pretty much. It definitely becomes that with movies and comics and everything else.
I mean, we're in just such a golden age. I mean, I was sitting here just thinking back, like this time last year, I was so excited for Supergirl Season 2 just because, not only because I love the show, but I got that preview and it showed Superman like just running down the alley, shirt ripped, jump in the air. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get another Superman in 2016.
Right.
So how about, tell us a little bit about your, for lack of a super history. Like, where does your fandom come from?
I'm sorry, what was that? I kind of have a...
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Tell us about your super history.
Oh, yeah, I kind of got a little cutting out here. But yeah, I mean, I've been a Superman fan ever since I can remember. I mean, I've always, I'm a big movie person, so honestly, I read a lot more comics now than I ever did when I was younger, because I can, at least once in a while.
Yeah, and I think, I always say, like, they're a little bit more accessible, because I know, like, when I was younger, there was, like, one comic book shop, and then there was, like, the grocery store comic thing, and then the comic book shop closed. So it was like harder to try to find, well, where do I get my comics? Where do I go? Now
right.
I know how to Google it.
Yeah, there's a few good. Yeah, there's. I know where all the shops are around here. There's, we got 4 different shops here in Toledo that are pretty good. I mean, JC's has been around for a long time here, and they're like a pop culture store now, and they sell all kinds of toys and memorabilia along with comics and issues, and Monarch is a great one. I go there a lot, and we've got a game room, and they have a lot of comics and stuff, and they specialize in tabletop games and all that. But yeah, I've always been a Superman fan ever since I was a kid. When I grew up with the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. I have the collection of Superman the animated series.
Me too.
On DVD, and I'm working on collecting the Batman. I have a few of the seasons there, and the DC animated features. I have almost every single one of those.
Exactly.
Those are really fun.
Yep. I hear you, man. Right there. And
right.
Just for pointing out, James and I were talking online about Superman, and we didn't realize at first that we're both in Ohio. I'm right outside Columbus, and he's right by Toledo, and it's just like we both were talking like maybe it's fate because Superman was created in Ohio. Just saying, throwing that out there.
Yeah. Right, and Ohio has the Superman license plate with the shield and the S on it. So
Which only makes sense.
That's amazing.
Only makes sense. Now,
Absolutely.
now we don't have to talk about age. Some people are picky about that.
Okay.
But I'm 32, and I brought up before, like, I remember seeing Superboy the show on TV, but not really having a super clear recollection, as well as I had seen Superman 4 a lot because I felt like that was always playing on TV. It must have been like dirt cheap to get the rights for. So I felt like every time I was at my grandparents' house and they'd turn on the TV, there was Superman 4. And it was one of those, I liked it. I didn't realize how bad it was until I got older. And I was like, whoa, wow.
Yeah, I mean, it has a good message, and he really wanted to, send it across with it, but it definitely had a lot of pitfalls in the making, and when it came out, it is definitely the worst one.
It's not his fault. It's not Chris's fault at all. I mean, you read the story about selling of the rights, the production. They cut the budget. They cut film. They wanted to try to do it as Superman 4 and 5. But I think there's a lot of good elements in that film that I think would be fun to see explored again. Just the quote-unquote hot business lady who actually is attracted to Clark compared to Superman. Because no one's ever really attracted to Clark. And I thought that was just a cool thing to see.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, Chris Reeves, Clark, how he,
non-attractive.
that bumbling, right, the very big glasses he had, the slouching so much, and the geeky voice that he really put on. He definitely changed his voice a lot between Clark Kent and Superman.
Now, who would you say, for the listeners, is like the biggest, not saying the best, but just the actor or portrayal of Superman that touches you the most?
That's a little tough there. I grew up watching Lois and Clark. So there's a big spot there for Dean Cain, which I hope he's in Supergirl season 3.
Me too.
Definitely.
I was really bummed we didn't get a shot of Jeremiah showing up to help Supergirl fight Rhea, just so we could see Terry and Dean together. Yeah,
that was a big missed opportunity just to have them share the screen, and it didn't even have to be much, but yeah, I think they missed something there about, him not being there. They were in the same episode, but they didn't share any screen time.
It's heartbreaking.
Right. And then, when I was young, like I said, I watched Adventures of Superman, and then I grew up watching Smallville. I mean, I'm 32 as well. I just turned 32 not even a month ago. And
I feel like that, for people in our little bracket right there, is how it is. Like, we were kids, we had Chris on TV, even if it was Superman 4, and whatever, like if our, and then we had Dean, and that was exciting, but our formative years being teenagers and getting the teenage Clark. I mean, I told Jania, my wife, I was like, I started watching Smallville when I was in high school. I graduated high school, dilly-dallied around, went to college.
And Clark graduated high school.
I graduated college, met you, and got married before the series finale.
Right.
I'm like, so all this important stuff is going on while I'm watching Smallville.
Absolutely. And that show is all about the formative years. So, to grow up with it in that time, at the same time, same age, pretty much as Clark on the show.
Exactly.
It was really,
it was important.
It was a good time.
My brother and I both had shirts that said Smallville High School, And we were traveling once with my parents, and we were at a truck stop. And this dude was like, "Oh, where's that?" And I was like, Kansas. And just, "Oh, y'all
Right.
Kansas?" I was like, "Gotta go."
Fictional town from Kansas. So I mean, Tom Welling spent the most time as Clark Kent, and really got to kind of form the character into becoming Superman.
And I love,
So that's probably the most influential there. Just growing up, like right alongside, watching the whole 10 seasons and rewatching it over again, and
it's one of those
listening
shows.
to Always Hold On to Smallville.
Exactly. Little shout out to our friend Zach Moore over at Always Hold On to Smallville.
Yes, great podcast.
It's one of those shows that I'm always kind of watching somewhere. And I remember, for some reason, I decided to rewatch the series straight, but for some reason, I decided to watch it out of order, just because my wife and I would be talking about stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, that's this season." So we start that season and go through it, because my wife really likes the latter seasons because she really likes Erica Durance as Lois, and she likes seeing the Clark and Lois dynamic. So she's always up for watching any of the seasons that has Lois, more so than the earlier ones without her. And I get that.
Well, yeah, understandable. Eric Durance is probably one of my top 2 or 3 Lois Lanes.
She's my number 1. Terry Hatcher's my number 2. And I think Margot Kidder and Superman, the movie, the first one, is good. I think Noelle Neal did a great job of being Lois Lane for the time that she was there, where the character was, and women and all that for that era. I'm not super sold on Amy Adams. I'll be up front. I think she's a great actress, but I just feel like there's something missing from her character.
Yeah. They definitely have not given her enough to do in the movies. I hope they'll give her, I hope she'll be able to flesh it out. Yeah, she, like you said, she's a good actress. She's really good, and I think she could definitely personify a strong Lois Lane. Perhaps not as strong as Erica Durance, but she had more time to be Lois Lane, more time to plus with the TV, different episodes, she had to be strong. She had to fight people. They had to personify the army brat growing up, and
there was a lot that Erica got to do. And then I think it's kind of almost unfair, but at the same time, I don't like Kate Bosworth at all as Lois Lane. I don't buy her as Lois at all, but yeah, that's a
no. She didn't quite strike. Yeah, she didn't quite strike me. There's a lot of elements, to Superman Returns that you enjoy. I mean, they tried to bring Christopher Reeve Superman to present day, and I mean, the movie was all nostalgia, and the cinematography was beautiful.
Yes.
But that was pretty much the extent of it. I mean, Brandon Routh did a good job, but I mean, they honestly wrote it, and he had to portray it as an angsty, almost a teenage angsty Superman when he's kind of full grown at this point. And he's kind of in this part where he doesn't have the love of his life, but he was always like sad and like super peeping Tom almost. And I mean, they say Henry Cavill's always like, he doesn't smile, this and that, and it's like, well, he did a good job in Man of Steel, and that was like Superman Begins.
Yeah.
Which you can't. I mean, they had Goyer. Goyer wrote it, and he worked with Nolan on the whole Dark Knight trilogy, and that's what Warner Brothers wanted.
And I've said this multiple times on this podcast and others. If you study and go back, Man of Steel was not written and not made to be the launch of a DC connected universe. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Technically, they had originally wanted Green Lantern to be their kickoff, but they tweaked things out of that and kind of held off on it. But Man of Steel was not set to be the start of the DC EU. And people argue, well, there's the Wayne satellite. I'm like, that's in post-production with a computer, bro. You could put that in there anytime.
Yeah.
But if you really...
Yeah, and that's just to, show that... sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, if you look at story structure and little things like... Simple things like, how much better of a film would Colonel Hardy had been if he was actually Hank Henshaw? Little things like that had been dropped in there, like, to pick on the universe and just... and I think that is part of the reason why BVS is as thick and as it is because their kickoff movie wasn't really a kickoff movie.
Yeah, it wasn't made to be the kickoff movie. Yeah, I mean, I love BVS. I really do. I like Zack Snyder. He's one of my favorite directors. His imagery is just like unparalleled.
Oh, dude, we got to more. We got it. We can get coffee and talk more.
Right?
No, because I know BVS isn't perfect. I've seen it a lot. But for the most part,
me too.
I love it. There are things, yes, I accept other people's opinions. I can argue either point, and I can see validation in people's arguments. I think the one thing that we're missing with that film was I think we maybe needed another Superman movie before it, or BVS should have been broken into two films. We should have had a movie that was a conflict between Batman and Superman, and then that ends with them kind of resolving it. But it ties in, and the second part would be Luthor kind of flipping the switch and being like, fine, I'll do it myself, and creates Doomsday. And then the second part is more of the dawn of justice, of them coming together, getting Wonder Woman. She would be introduced in the second part and going to Doomsday. That way you have a little bit more time to build into the ultimate, death of Superman and I mean,
well, at this point we know it was all production, it was all executive decision. I mean, the title, Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice. I mean, the title is two movies in itself.
Exactly, and I mean, Snyder's original cut of the film was 4 hours, and I want to watch that. I'll watch it. I'll sit through it. I don't care. I want to know what's in it.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
But I mean, like we said, nothing's perfect with it, and I'm really excited for Justice League.
I mean, I am totally stoked. As soon as tickets go on pre-sale, like for Batman vs Superman and Wonder Woman, I'll have my tickets in pre-sale.
Oh yeah.
BVS was, when I saw BVS in the theater, I saw everything, I mean, as the plot unfolded, I saw everything, and, being a comic book fan, we probably saw more, expected more. And then when the Ultimate Edition came out, I was like, I mean, I was happy that, they put all the Clark Kent stuff back in because it was definitely Batman centric.
And see, that's why I said if we would have had another Superman movie and then had this, the more Batman centric would have been okay because you're introducing him and Superman's there to help that. But since I feel like we just got our Superman, we just kind of got to know him with Man of Steel, we haven't really got a chance to explore Superman. We didn't get that. But, my favorite part about the extended cut is I hated hearing people online complain, like, why didn't Superman see the bomb in the wheelchair? He could have seen the bomb. And I'm like, maybe the wheelchair was lead. Boom. In the extended cut, we get the scene with Lois Lane discovering that the wheelchair was made of lead. So he couldn't
Exactly.
And I'm like,
he couldn't see it, and I mean, even maybe the lead would have some effect on, muffling the sound, because it wasn't until it actually exploded inside the wheelchair that he heard it. He heard it, he turned his head, and then that was it. It was already, it was already exploding. I mean, he's fast, but he's not the Flash or, Quicksilver from X-Men where time stands still and he can save everybody like that.
Exactly. Oh crap! I was gonna say. That's exactly the thing. Like, he was caught off guard, but like they had and the other line that I lost my Jania like got so excited at in the theater where we saw the extended edition was that they put Luthor in Arkham. When Batman says, you're going to Arkham. Why would you cut that out? It's one line of dialogue, and it means so much. It carries so much weight. Why would you cut that out?
Oh, absolutely. Right? Especially the fact that they're already saying that Batman already has that 20-year history where, Arkham already has to have that reputation of not being a psychiatric hospital of any kind of real merit. Obviously, there's a lot of issues with the corruption and the breakouts and everything else.
I always told my wife before when we discussed, well, what if they reboot Batman after Christian Bale? And I said, what they should do is they should jump forward and give Batman
that was my thought exactly.
That way you don't have to tell all these origin stories unless you want to tell an origin of a character, but then you can talk backwards. All of a sudden we can get Nightwing and Batgirl and have a new Robin as a jumping off point, because there's so many characters that are loved in the Bat universe that if you try to do them all linear, it would be forever before you could even get to any of them.
Exactly. I mean, Batman's already got, like Batman sells, everybody knows Batman sells. And I mean, they oversaturate him at this point, big time. Batman sells, and he's got such a rich history, the Bat family. Nightwing's great, and interested in the movie coming out, but I'm definitely interested in the Titans show that they're going to have on the DC streaming service next year.
Well, it's one of those, do you remember when they had the behind the scenes that was supposed to be Batman at Dick Grayson's grave in BVS that obviously was cut?
Yeah. So is that? I'm interested. Obviously they showed the Robin costume and Joker killing a Robin, and I was wondering if they were going to do that as more of is it one Robin and he got killed, or was it going to be more comic book, and was it going to be Jason Todd who got killed? Obviously that would be more comic central, comic related.
I would hope that,
and that would definitely be
Todd, or with Robin and even Flash characters, sometimes they'll make amalgam characters where they'll mix certain things from different ones into one character.
Right.
And so I would prefer them to make it maybe just a straight Jason Todd, or even it was Tim Drake. I'd be okay with that, just because I want to get my Nightwing movie. And the problem is everybody really likes Tim Drake as Robin, but modern people are getting used to the idea of Damian Wayne as Robin, and that's a whole story movie arc in itself.
Absolutely.
But what do you think of Cavill just in general as Superman? And then what you're saying?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to go on right now. Could talk for hours here.
Yes.
Well, Cavill, he's a great actor. I just actually this week finished catching up on the season 2 of the Krypton Report. Your wife had mentioned how much he acts with his eyes, which really shone through in Man of Steel. It was just with that look to Lois Lane, and she just kind of calmed down and put her trust in him at that moment, you know. They really don't give him enough to do.
Amen, bro.
He definitely, he looks the part big time. You know, he's got a strong jaw, you know, I mean, thick black hair. He looks the part. And then physically, I mean, it's a big thing now. Everybody has to look like a superhero, but, it's pretty tough to get that, you know, that big and stay that big. And you know, he just, I mean, that's the Superman suit when he lands on the base in Man of Steel, and it's, sorry, my wife came out and asked me a question, so I got lost.
Oh, believe me, it's fine. I got a baby here half asleep, and then a little boy running around playing with his lightsaber, so it's all good.
But I mean, Cavill is like my generation right now, full on grown up Superman. When it comes to Cavill in the movies, I actually, when Man of Steel had come out, and this was before they even decided to make it the jumping off point for the DCEU, I thought it was, and this is how I called it too. I said, like doing a Man of Steel trilogy. However they were going to do it, what villains they were going to use, but I figured that in the third one he would end up facing Doomsday and die, and that would be the death of Superman, and then it would be like Darkseid or something, some large global threat like that would unite the Justice League, and he would return to you know, save the day. And they kind of cut that out. I called what they were doing, but they kind of just skipped to the end.
Yeah, because I feel like when they were like, well, we're going to use Man of Steel as the jumping off point, we got to speed this up. We don't need to take our time. Let's
Absolutely.
Speed this up. And I like the idea that it's Steppenwolf as the bad guy, because he's kind of a bad guy you can do a lot with, and you don't have to bring Darkseid right away. And the fact that it gives us more focus, because it's not a bad guy we really want to see. It gives more focus to actually rally the Justice League together. And we don't have to have, like, the bad guy as a big character, because it's Steppenwolf, not Darkseid himself. But no,
if you think about it, you know, Steppenwolf being the like the general of Darkseid's armies, that you know, Darkseid's not going to be leading the charge at first. You know what I mean? He's the king. He's the ruler. He's not going to be leading the charge right out the gate. You know, he's definitely going to delegate that to his generals to, you know, achieve, to at least go on the front lines to achieve what he wants to get to, which I'm not sure what they're going to end up having him do, if it's, you know, just ruling, destruction, or
we know that
he's obviously looking for the mother boxes, but that's about all we really know at this point. I mean, they haven't released too much story on the Justice League yet.
And it makes me think a little bit more of like the New 52 Justice League Volume 1 and Earth 2 Volume 1, where Darkseid was going Earth to Earth, killing all the Supermen. But when he got to the 52 Earth, like, the Justice League had formed and they were able to stop him. So I'm like, it kind of makes me wonder if because he says this Earth will fall like all the others, and we know that the new gods are supposed to exist outside the multiverse.
Right.
So it makes me wonder.
It's like a separate dimension.
Yes, it makes me wonder about all that. And then as far as Cavill goes, I think he's great. I just don't think they've given him enough to do. I mean, I loved him in Man from U.N.C.L.E. Like,
Yeah, Man from U.N.C.L.E. I've watched that a handful of times, and yeah, it's really good. You know, he's got a charisma, you know, and he's good. He's a very good actor, and I definitely think if they gave him more to do, and hopefully now that I mean, yeah, they kind of rushed into it, but hopefully now that he's going to be coming back, and he's supposed to be the hero that everybody loves and respects at this point because of his sacrifice. You know, hopefully they'll give him more to do, and he will be that overall character. I mean, I did like what they did with Man of Steel. Like, he put on the suit, he inspired that hope and trust, but it wasn't the fact that he put on the suit and now it's like the greatest Superman. You know what I mean? He's just not the greatest. People just found out about him, that it takes time for him to actually become trusted and loved by the entire world.
Exactly.
So I do like that aspect, that they were building towards that, but they kind of just went, boom, here he is. 2 years later, he's still controversial. And then, now everybody's like love and respect because he sacrificed himself to save everybody. And then, so hopefully they'll give him a lot more and he will be, Superman personified.
And that's why I can't wait. I mean, it's there. He has the ability. I remember when the Immortals came out, my big selling point for wanting to go see it was because it had Henry Cavill, who I had never really seen before. And I was like, I didn't realize I had seen him in Stardust and Count of Monte Cristo. But when he was in Immortals, it's I went to see it and I remember we're sitting there in the theater and we're watching it. And I turned to my wife he's going to do great. And she's like, what? I'm like, as Superman, he's going to be awesome. I approve.
Right.
I got more excited for Man of Steel just because I was watching him as Theseus. I'm like,
yes, Immortal's great. And we love that. Me and my wife, we both love that movie. And Henry Cavill credits his training to be Theseus, to becoming Superman, to stepping it up to actually physically personifying Superman.
All right, we're going to keep moving along because I feel like you and I could be here forever. Quick, we're
gonna just talking about the DCEU before we get to anything else.
Yeah, we're going to hold off because I want to break up that conversation over a little bit of time because I have more ideas to discuss. And since this is your first episode,
okay,
we're going to. What did you think of Tyler Hoechlin's portrayal of Superman on Supergirl?
He did really good. He was really good as both Clark Kent and as Superman. The scene where he lands in the DEO with her and everybody's, shaking his hand. They all stand up to him and, he's, I'm proud of the work, I'm thankful of the work you guys do. You guys are the real heroes. Because even though he's so powerful and such a great threat, you know what I mean? As Superman, he still relies on the system.
Yeah.
And, he did a really good job showing that.
And I think, to me, he feels exactly like the kind of more modern Christopher Reeve, Dean Cain type. Because I feel like Dean Cain had a different kind of Clark, and his Clark's a little bit more in that vein. But his Superman's more of a Christopher Reeve style for now. And I really enjoyed his portrayal.
Right. Well, what was it how many episodes? Only a few episodes in of Lois and Clark where, Superman, he goes to the courtroom and, he doesn't want to, because Lex is, increasing the temperature that whole episode.
But he's that Superman's activity is drawing more sun energy to Metropolis and heating it up.
Yeah. But he goes in front of the courts, he allows himself to be arrested, put on the, it's that exact same thing that he did with, that Tyler Hoechlin did, with his Superman. And, his Clark Kent was really good too. I mean, the stumbling, what is it, gee golly, he says to Perry White.
Yeah, and he's like, Mr. White, Mr. White. I mean, even when he tripped, and she's like, "Oh, you're so good." He was like, "That wasn't an act." Just him.
Yeah, exactly.
I love.
What's really cool about that is, Superman doesn't trip. He's always in control. He always has to be in control of his body. Like they said on Justice League Unlimited on the series finale, he feels like he lives in a world made of cardboard.
Dude, that is my favorite quote. Dude, just you saying that right now, I have chills. When he's fighting Darkseid and he says that, and he goes to the whole, I've always had to hold back, and he just starts punching to, oh my gosh, it's so just,
Right.
It's one of my favorite Superman scenes of all time.
Yeah, but the Tyler Hoechlin said, yeah, I actually did trip. You know, it really makes him seem more human. He's got more of a human aspect to him because he grew up here. He basically, beyond his powers and his genetic structure, he is human. He grew up here.
And that's really important to help differentiate him and Kara in this series, particularly where they kind of come from, because she's more Kryptonian, living human. He's more human, learning of his Kryptonian heritage as he goes. And that
yeah, he's more human, grew up with these abilities. Yeah, he's more human, but he grew up with these abilities. Whereas Kara, she's more Kryptonian, and she has to pretend to be human, and she has to accept these abilities.
Now, what do you think of Melissa's portrayal of Supergirl?
Well, I'm trying to, find some more Supergirl comics and things like that. So, honestly, her portrayal is only the second biggest portrayal I've seen besides the animated series where she's in. I know Helen Slater was Supergirl, but I've never seen that film.
It's rough. It's rough, bro. It's rough.
That's what I've heard.
It's rough because they tried to make it more of a fable and like this innocent, fairy tale-ish. If you want to, we did a 2-part podcast for it, and it was back when we were still figuring out a lot of our technical stuff. But there's a podcast called Now Playing that does movie reviews. If you get a chance, pull up their Supergirl. They when they did it, it's a really good. Just if you haven't seen the movie, because it's hard to find. And listen to that. It's really informative, just to kind of help give you some feelings to it. But yeah,
okay.
It's like you were saying. I didn't really like Supergirl. Has a weird history as a character of where they put her, and it seems like every time a version comes out in the where she is in the comics, whatever, is different. That's why she was Kara in Z on the animated series instead of Kara as Orel.
Solo's turn.
Okay.
Solo's turn? Solo's turn? You want to wear your mask? I hunted. Last weekend, we went on a hunt because his Batman mask broke. And I've eventually, at 9:30 at night, at the third target, we found a Justice League Batman mask and Flash. So I bought him both. Nice. And what's funny is, as much as he loves Batman, he has wore that Flash mask more than any of them.
Well, it definitely is more colorful. That might appeal to him. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But Melissa's Supergirl is excellent. As a really before Wonder Woman here, as the first standout female superheroine, she's excellent. The character development, her making the mistakes in the first season, and even talking with Maggie in the episode in the second season where Alex was kidnapped. There's very good character development. She's gorgeous.
We have a poster in our daughter Sayla's room I got on Free Comic Book Day. It was on sale. I have Supergirl, and I have a Wonder Woman poster too. So I'm setting her up for success.
Yeah, exactly. That's parenting done right.
Exactly.
I actually just showed my kids and everything the second trailer, or the trailer for the new Batman 66 versus Two-Face Batman versus movie that's coming out. And my daughter, she was Batman.
Solo's to be Batman? Come here. Yeah, Solomon loves his dress up and everything. It's great. It's great, like this time having kids because of all the stuff that you can get for them that technically is kind of for you too. Like, babe,
Right.
I have to get him this special edition limited Batman figure with the matching suit. I have to get it. Like, you don't understand what this kid needs.
Right. And my son, he loves playing, and my son and daughter, they both love playing Injustice too.
My
daughter, she was all over Harley Quinn. Yeah. My son is autistic, and his thing is electronics and video games, so he's really good at them,
awesome.
better than a lot of younger kids, and so he's enjoying it. Well, my son, years ago when it was Arkham City and Arkham Origins had come out, he was playing those, and I turn off the sound and everything because there's a lot of foul language, but he could play those, and I've known gamers who had a hard time with the free flow 360-degree combat and everything. And my son at 5 years old was playing them, and he was doing better and got farther than other grown adult gamers that I've known.
Hi, Mom. Hey, Daddy.
What's up, bud?
That's very cool when the white coach splits himself into two, right?
Okay.
He's so cool. He splits himself into two, right? That's cool.
So, but yeah, they enjoy Injustice. My daughter loved playing Harley Quinn, and now that Starfire came out, she's all about playing Starfire. And
What's funny is Solomon's all about, like, we were playing, he's like, Bane, Daddy, Bane. And then he's like, then he wanted to be Scarecrow. Like, and what's funny is he'll play, but it's like, he just likes to watch the game. Like, he'll button mash and stuff, but he's so intrigued with just watching the screen that I'll pull videos up on YouTube and he'll just watch them.
right.
But yeah, it's great. Like, it's such a great time to be able to experience this kind of stuff. Like yesterday, I was listening to, and I was putting together a video with some of the Power Ranger music to some Supergirl imagery and stuff, and like rocking out to the Power Rangers theme song and stuff. And I'm like, who would have thought my kid, like, I would have a kid one day who's listening to this, enjoying it with me.
Yeah.
But
back to Superman, Supergirl, and I think the ending there of the season finale with Superman, that part where he's, Supergirl, you beat me, you're stronger, I couldn't have done what you did. I couldn't be who I am without Lois Lane. I think that's a really good callback too to the Injustice series, kind of tying the two conversations together there. I think that was kind of a nice tie to the Injustice series and Superman overall. Is, even though he grew up here and like we say, he's more human, he still relies on the people he cares about to ground him.
So with season 4, what are some villains that you would like to see? Like anyone that jumps out? Or season 3?
For season 3 of Supergirl?
Yeah, I said 4. I meant season 3. My bad.
Well, I'm not extremely familiar with a whole lot of Supergirl villains on her own. As you've said, she's been what's the word? Inconsistent over the years. So, with season 3, with the Supergirl series, it's really nice that they can, they can adapt a few stories as they have from Superman or Justice League, the girl who has everything, for example. And they work really well. I'm interested in finding out and seeing how they utilize Rain this season, since they've announced who is going to be playing that character. It'll be kind of different, she's supposed to be a world destroyer. And she would have had to grow up on Earth. Maybe it's a parallel to like a Davis Bloom Doomsday scenario.
And that's what a lot of people theorize, like, when that ended and the way they were doing that. So, yeah, I'm curious about that as well.
Yeah, I think they, they should have learned something from that big time. And at the time, Smallville being the only thing on television, they didn't have the budget to do what they were doing with Doomsday. The whole season, and the Davis Bloom, fall and his transformation, was done really well. But it certainly ended, lackluster.
I agree.
But so hopefully, if they do some kind of, vein of that with season 3 and the Rain character, it definitely could be interesting. And hopefully with the budget, cause this stuff is obviously, sells and they have a much larger budget than they ever did in the past. I hope with the knowledge from the past and the bigger budget that they'll do it a little better than they did with the Doomsday.
And I agree. I think the biggest thing about the Doomsday that really got me was just, I like the idea of separating the man from the monster, but then like Clark just burying him under the ground and it was over. Like they really didn't even fight a little bit. It was kind of like, oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, definitely the Doomsday fight was the disappointment.
Now, one villain I would like to see, I think would be great for a crossover series or just show up, is I think with basically Superman going to fight Steppenwolf and Darkseid on the big screen. How about we give Supergirl Mongol?
Absolutely.
War World has been brought up before. Let's bring Mongol in, and I mean that'd be a great crossover if you think about it. So,
well, they've announced that the crossover this year is going to be 2 nights instead of stretched out across 4 nights with all 4 shows. That the crossover is going to be the 4 shows like crammed into the 2 nights, like Monday and Tuesday. Like that week, Arrow's going to be on Tuesday at the end instead of Thursday. So it's going to be more like a 2-part TV, hopefully. And
that's what I hope. Like that's what I really wanted out of the whole thing last year, was just more of a big story broken up into 4 parts instead of each show having their part of the story.
Yeah. I mean, I think they did that really well. Each part was definitely Flash-centric, Arrow-centric, and Legend-centric. They really utilized the concept of each show for each part. But I think, to make it bigger and to make it better, it would be more beneficial as more of a large story consistent of all of these people in more of a, TV movie type thing, as opposed to, each episode being focused on one part and it being totally that show. Exactly. If they want to do the crossover, just, mash them all together like a big TV movie event. I really enjoyed what they did with the crossover, and the episodes themselves were really good.
I agree.
But, as they get bigger and better, I think that would probably be more of the route to go.
Because it would also just kind of help break up. Just like if you're stuck in a certain thing, this is like a special. Like if they could do it, like it'd be awesome to have the crossover be. Hey, I just got a response, a like from Brian Q. Miller, the author of many episodes of Smallville and the Smallville comics, on my Twitter, discussing parenting things. Yay!
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Now, the other villain I think would be awesome, and that brings us to what we were going to talk about today after an hour.
Right.
Is I think you could do it 2 ways. You could either adapt the story straight, Or you could do it kind of as a sequel-esque story, and that would be, I think, Manchester Black. And Manchester recently appeared in the current Superman comics, causing problems with Superman. I won't spoil anything, because it's great to read.
I heard he was coming back for that.
And I already have my fan casting. I think they should bring James Marsters in to be Manchester Black. And before anyone says he's too old, that's why I think it should be a sequel where he's already gone up against Superman before. He's been rotting in prison. He gets free. He wants his revenge. But since he can't attack Superman, he goes after Supergirl. And
excellent.
that's kind of my idea. And if you've read, for any of the listeners who's read the recent comics of Superman and know what Manchester's game was, maybe adapt something similar to that. Now, if you're sitting there like, who is Manchester Black? Well, what we're going to talk about is was it 2000? I had it written down. What was it? 2012, I believe it was.
Yeah, the year escapes me.
I believe it was either 12 or 13.
Sounds about right.
DC Universe animated film. I'm pretty sure it was 12 because it was the year before Man of Steel. Superman versus the Elite. Now, when this was released at first, I wasn't too thrilled because I wasn't familiar with the source. And I wasn't familiar with the characters other than, of course, Superman. But I wanted to revisit it with my wife and everything and watch it. And upon watching it recently, because of Manchester being back in the comics, I found it to be probably one of my favorite stories and looks at Superman as a character, what he really stands for.
Yes.
What are your overall thoughts?
And it was 2012. I just looked it up real quick. It was 2012. I just looked real quick, but as a character, it's very good. Manchester and the Elite there, their end goal is the same, peace, but to them the ends justify the means. If they can kill some people to bring about that peace, they're okay, totally okay with that. And Superman, Superman's not. Exactly, forcing their will upon people, and that's something Superman won't do.
I think it's if you're a Superman fan, or just like, even if you're a fan of, say, anti-hero type characters, Lobo, Punisher, whatever, I'd recommend watching this film because it brings up why Superman won't kill, what that does to you, where do you stop, who is it your decision, who lives, who dies. And it really lets you wrestle with that idea because, like me, I've never been a big fan of like the anti-hero characters. I've always looked up to Superman because I feel like that's more of a character that we need in the real world because of everything, how things are gray, and we need someone who's like, this is what I believe in, this is what I do, and I'm not going to falter from that. Like, it's that stable.
Yeah, very
character.
Much so.
And the Elite provide this alternative viewpoint of, we're just going to do this, and you can't stop us, and if this person's bad, we'll just kill him and move on. And Superman's like, no, I will not kill, I will not go there. And I really, like, at first I wanted to review this and break it down more, but I really don't want to spoil it. Like, I really want people to go and see it for themselves because I think it gives you a very different insight into Superman as a character and why, yes, he is super powerful, but why he does what he does, why he makes the choices that he makes.
Yeah, why he does what he does, how he does what he does. Absolutely. And trying not to spoil it, but it really goes into that and how it's possible, especially there at the end, the way he does what he does. It's very thematic and very character driven for the character.
and it really hits home how important just Superman, for nothing else, his ideology is to people. And that if I don't know about you, but like in my family sometimes, and with my wife as well, we're like more of the peacekeepers. We're always like, let's calm down,
Okay.
or let's make up, or someone else lose their temper. But that moment that you lose your temper, your family kind of gets scared and starts to freak out. Because it's like, oh my God, no, calm down, Jania, look, it's okay. Don't get angry. It's because when you snap,
Right.
it instantly instills fear. And I think that's kind of how, like, with Superman with this is once people see where things can go, they're like, oh my God, what have we done? Like, what is this now?
Yeah, forces people to step back and actually look at what they're doing and look at what's going on, as opposed to letting that emotion drive them. There's definitely more thought and control behind it.
I did want to bring up real quick because I actually am reading right now. I just started the story that Superman versus the Elite is based on, and I'm pulling it up right now. I bought it on Kindle because I found it because it was only $1.99. Okay. And I'm not usually a huge digital comics person.
Yeah,
but it is
me as well.
I'd rather have the physical book in hand, but sometimes some of these older ones like this are hard to find. And if I just want to read it, I'll buy it on Kindle, and if I find the book, I'll buy it. But it's under Superman in Action Comics number 775, and the title of the story is called "What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way." So if you're someone who's interested in just reading the comic, and you, that's where you can get that, I know of right away, and I'm sure it's on other digital platforms.
Yeah. Okay. I'll have to check that out because that's kind of how a lot of comics have. I mean, for me, I mostly buy trades. I love trades. Not so many issues. I do love trades. I love reading the whole story as a whole. You have to buy, kind of makes me feel a little bad, you have to buy the issues for them to keep writing the stories. But I certainly I like buying the trades. I like buying the collection, reading the whole story in one sitting.
I found my way of splitting that is I buy Superman and Action Comics as individual issues, and then like Batman, Flash, Aquaman, Justice League, the other stories I like, I buy in trades. That's kind of my little my happy medium that I've come to.
Right.
Just because
I will certainly buy next year when it comes out the 1000 of Action Comics.
Oh yeah,
I'm on it. I'm gonna.
I was gonna say, like, real quick, just looking like stuff I've bought in Kindle wise. I bought, I think it was free actually for a while, but I bought Action Comics #1 because even a reprint of that's not worth much, but they're hard to find. I have the Superman Annual 11, which is where Alan Moore wrote for The Man Who Has Everything. I have Detective Comics 27. So, ones that are hard to find that maybe you can't even find a reprint for, I don't mind buying cheap just because I want to enjoy the story digitally. And if I find them in print, I will buy it. So it's more of those specialized ones that I buy digitally.
Yeah. Okay.
But jumping back real quick, I do want to hit a couple points.
Yes.
I know we're going a little long.
Okay.
With Supergirl Season 3, my first question is to you. They said Mon-El's going to return. Where do you think Mon-El went? What do you think happened to him at the end?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The portal looked like a wormhole, like when the Daxamites had invaded Earth. So where he went, that's definitely, I'm not sure where he could have gone, and how he'll come back. I don't think with the way that the lead bomb was described that, he couldn't come back to Earth. Will it dissipate and, he's able to? Was it like a one-off at this point and eventually, come to Earth? That's kind of it's where the writers want to take that.
Now, I agree. Like I some people said Phantom Zone, but
Which is, what they've said in the comics, because it was more of lead poisoning,
Yep.
and he couldn't get rid of it, and he had to go to the Phantom Zone where space and time is, kind of non-existent.
there's a really good short comic that I'm trying to find if I can find it digitally. It was written by Jeff Johns and Richard Donner, and I think it's called Superman's older brother. It's like it's where Mon-El. It was their retelling of Mon-El's origin, just in a real short comic. And it's a great read if you can ever find it. I'm trying to remember. I found it. It was in the front of one of the Superman trades, but I just don't remember which one. But we know we're getting Morgan Edge, played by Adrian Pascar, who was on Heroes. And I think Morgan Edge is a cool character because, like in the comics, he's become more of a media person. And I'm kind of curious where they're going to go with his character, what they're going to do with him, what's going to separate him from just being just an evil businessman. Because you notice how in season 2 there is never, ever a mention of Maxwell Lord.
Yeah, he completely just disappeared.
Not even a name drop. So I'm curious what they're going to do with him.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. They've got a lot of freedom with the CW verse and Supergirl, so it'll be interesting to see where they go with Morgan Edge. You were saying where were you going after that?
Oh, I was saying, I know that he's going to be up against Lena, and I love Lena. I think she's a unique character that I want to see more depth from, because we're not sure if she's good, bad, her own agenda. She's kind of just...
Yeah, they definitely did that in season 2. Her own agenda is, is she playing a long game with her being really smart? Is she good? Is she bad? They like to keep putting her back into the, she was a good person. She's a standout Luthor.
Yep.
It'll be definitely interesting to see where they go with her. At this point, she doesn't know Kara as Supergirl.
But Kat does.
And is that going to be yeah, and that was kind of a cool thing too, the way they turned it from season 1, Kara and Supergirl are in the same room together, thank you, John. And then, in the end, go do it, Supergirl. So I'm wondering if Cat Grant's going to be a series regular or a guest star again this season.
I would prefer it to be like the quote unquote regular, but she's not in every episode. I mean, kind of like Snapper Carr, but he was he just disappeared at the end. Like, no closure for his character out. But I mean, she doesn't have to be in every episode, but I would like to see her more. And we'll see.
Yeah, she was a pretty good driving force and a good inspiration, a good mentor character for Kara in the first season. We missed her in the second season, and but she did a good job mentoring Kara. But it's also nice, when the mentor is able to step back and not always have to be there, and let the character drive herself, learn for herself.
And we know the other thing about Morgan Edge is he has ties to Intergang, so that's something we look at there. We're also getting
Intergang will be nice. Well, because Intergang also had dealt a lot with Superman in the past, so they have a history with the super characters, and that might actually be an interesting dynamic. They went up against Superman before, now it's Supergirl in a different city. With their past experiences, like they just have some insight knowledge into what she can do because they have, gone up against Superman in the past.
And let's see. We're going to meet Carl Lumley is coming to play. He was the voice of Martian Manhunter on the Justice League cartoon. He's going to be Martian Man's father. He was announced he's going to appear. I'm going to try to pronounce this name, but Marin Jones. We know how the Martians' names are. And we're going to get...
Yeah. A lot of alliteration.
Ruby, who's a kid fascinated by Supergirl. We're going to get a villainess named Psy, who's a psychic mind controller. And then the biggest news, bringing this back home, is we have Kara's mother recast, going to be played by Erica Durance.
Yes, that's...
And that's why I wish Tom would come on.
That's exciting. She's coming back.
That's why I wish Tom would come back and be Jor-El or Zor-El.
That would actually be really cool. He was out of it as he didn't want to. He said he didn't want to come back. He wanted kind of Smallville and Supergirl to be a separate thing. He didn't. He turned it down coming back. Did they offer him the role as Superman or something else just to come in? I definitely think it would be awesome for him to come back as a Jor-El or a Zor-El, having some prior connection, playing a different character. That would be awesome.
Just give me one flashback scene, okay, where it's Kara. Kara on Krypton. Yeah, Sayla. I know. She wants it too.
Yeah.
It's Kara on Krypton, and you see Zor-El come in, or Jor-El with baby Cal. Introducing baby Cal to the family. And then there's, Kara and her mom. Just one scene, real quick. That's all I need.
Erica Durance as Allura, and Tom Welling as Jor-El. And that would kind of really call it home, too, to the Smallville episode, where they took It's a Wonderful Life, What's the World Like Without Superman, where he held himself as a baby.
Exactly. The other... Go ahead.
That would be an amazing flashback scene, and he doesn't have to be there for anything but a minute.
Yeah,
and everybody would love it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't need him to be a long-term character. Come in a flashback because we've never seen Jor-El. So just come in.
Yeah.
And also, one thing that every version of Superman has never hit on was Jor-El's supposed to look a lot like Kal-El. And they have never got actors to play a young Jor-El that looks like the actor that's playing Kal-El.
Yeah, honestly, the closest similarity would have to be Russell Crowe and Henry Cavill. They don't look a whole lot alike, they have some features, but it's mainly, just the dark hair.
Yeah, seriously, like Julian Sands in Smallville as a young Jor-El, and I'm just like, what? You look nothing like Clark.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Blonde hair, his sandy blonde hair, his bone structure. They have nothing, nothing in common.
But I think we're gonna need to put a pin in it right there, because, like we said, we could go on forever, and I've really enjoyed this and just kind of touching on things. I'm always bringing on new listeners and new fans. Sayla calls for me, and we'll have to do this again soon, and this was kind of like an introduction for you to be on here. Well, I'll send you.
Maybe we'll stick to a structure next time. You can keep, you can go on all these tangents, just one way or another, off topic so much.
And that's cool, because that's sometimes the best way to go. But we talked about Superman versus the Elite. I want to do that in Supergirl Season 3. We're going to try to do something cool live. I'm not sure yet. We're experimenting with Facebook Live for when the show premieres. So we're going to work on that in the future. And once again, James.
I'm not on Twitter or anything yet, but with all this live tweeting for all the shows, I was thinking about doing that so I could participate in the live tweeting of like the season premiere of Supergirl and everything. So.
And so obviously we can find you on Facebook. Anywhere else,
yes.
Like people could reach you if they're like, oh man, let's chat it up some.
Well, I mean, right now I'm on Facebook. You can just find me, James Cole, on Facebook. Like I said, I've been interested in getting Twitter to participate in the live tweets and stuff. But I also have an email, havoc3169@gmail.com. I'm a big X-Men fan too, so it's HAVOK, as in Alex Summers Havoc.
Oh man, you're ready to pop open our second discussion, because I love Cyclops and the X-Men, but I feel like the films they did great casting, but never did him justice. And then they screwed up the whole Summers story. So man, we might have to talk some X-Men.
I'm a big DC guy. Superman is my favorite, and DC all the way. I enjoy Marvel, absolutely. I've seen all the movies, obviously, and but X-Men is the way to go in Marvel there.
Yeah, we're gonna once again. I believe that we could be here for a long time talking.
That's the way to reach me right now. Hopefully I will be expanding and, possibly talking more on podcasts. And so definitely.
We're definitely up for having you back here, man.
All right. Take it easy.
What a great time we had talking with James. To all you fans out there, if you guys want to talk on the show, just shoot us an email, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. And remember, look up in the sky. You can log in to Amazon through Southgate Media. Go to your Amazon account, and any shopping you do, a portion will go to Southgate Media. If you like our podcast and you just want to help out, it's a great way of helping us without having to actually do much of anything other than do what you do, which is just shop on Amazon.